Welcome back to Uninformed Movie Reviews, friends, foes, and fam alike. It's your boy Danny Two Hands. Today we're talking about our annual talk about The Thing. I feel like we talk about it every year. Here we are. And we're leading into, this is out of our spooky month, the last bit of our spooky month, and into pre-Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was last year, but this is like, we're going to celebrate Thanksgiving a little bit.
Whoa.
We're pre-booting Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is Thanksgiving. There's nothing more Thanksgiving than The Thing itself. We're running out of Thing movies, like the things we lost in the fire. You know?
Hopefully by this time next year, the Other Thing movie is out, and we can talk about it for another year. But that's right. Friends, we are talking about another remake versus original. We're talking The Thing 1982? 1982, which in itself is a sequel or is a reboot. Remake. And we're talking about 2011's The Thing from Matthijs van Kingedergen Jr.
Wow.
I think that's correct.
Sounded right to me.
Probably not. This is kind of a weird one because this isn't really a remake, but it also sort of is.
It's funny because I watched it again the other day, and I remember being at the theater thinking this was just a complete remake because that's what they marketed it as, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The trailers are kind of important in like putting this in a context because it wasn't. That was the surprise at the end of the movie, that it was like a secret prequel. But if you were a diehard Thing fan and you paid close attention, there was a lot of stuff that gave it away really early on in the movie.
Yeah, you would like immediately realize what was happening.
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on, this isn't exactly what we're doing here.
Right? So in a weird way, this has become sort of it's a pre-boot. It's a prequel reboot. I don't think this has ever been done before. I can't think of another movie in which...
I don't think so either. It's pretty unique.
Because you get sea-boots all the time.
I think we should
like you get like Force Awakens.
I think we should just go ahead and throw this out there right now. Big ol' fat David and Frankenbeans spoiler warning right now. We are going to be discussing every parts of this at probably different points through this podcast. So if you haven't seen The Thing 2011 or The Thing 1982, please stop listening or watching and come back later.
Or Snow Dogs even, because it might come up. Who knows?
Although, you know, I gotta say, I mean, aside like giving blatant spoilers, I don't think there's too much in this movie that you can spoil. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that. It is a bit of a whodunit, but you never really find out anyway. You know what I mean? The movie ends with mystery.
The whodunit of it is constantly changing and expanding.
Yeah.
It's ever growing.
So in our usual fashion, what's everyone's preferred version of The Thing? This is really easy for me.
1982.
1982 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1982. Yeah, I mean,
although I will say from this past rewatch, you know, I was a little more disappointed when I first saw it in theaters. That's just because obviously I was taken aback. I was like, what is this? What did I just see? And then at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, you know, once finishing it in the theater, this is a prequel. But actually watching it now and knowing what I was getting into, I enjoyed it much more on the second watch. Or this might be the third watch, I think. But it's still a solid film.
I have been writing all these little horror reviews for the channel Instagram at Uninformed Movie Reviews. But when I watched The Thing pre-boot last night, the 2011 one, and I remember during the movie feeling like, I'm enjoying this more than I remembered. But then when I got around to writing the review, I was like, man, I still have so many big problems with this movie. I don't think that it's bad necessarily. I just think that it might be one of the most like unnecessary films in a franchise. It's just so middling. I don't think it's anything too exciting. I mean, there's a couple of cool little moments, but my biggest issue with it is that, like Force Awakens, it's beat for beat almost the same movie. Some of the scares are different, but the big story points are exactly the same. which I guess works when it's supposed to be a secret prequel, but once you get over that reveal at the end, it just feels like, man, I wish we would have gone somewhere totally different with this movie, or at least as far as you could go. I don't know. That's at least how I feel about it. What about you, Frank?
I had never seen the 2011 film before today, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
And I
wow.
watched it. I watched all three things today. Like I watched the 1951 version as well. And I watched 2011 first and then went to 1982. And I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought the practical effects were pretty good. I thought the CGI wasn't the worst, but it also wasn't the best. It was like noticeably CGI, you know what I mean? But the practicals definitely saved it for me, especially during that like first autopsy scene where they're cutting open that amniotic sac and that guy's all fleshy and gooey. That's fantastic. But yeah, I still definitely hold the 1982 version in the highest regard, like out of the two of them. But I didn't hate the 2011. I really enjoyed the cast. I thought all their performances were aight. There was nothing like mind blowing, but everybody did what they needed to do. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
But also 1982, like.
As far as like similarities between these two movies, I mean, other than the plot point, they're both big ensemble cast movies in which most of the ensemble is just, they're just there. Like they do a good job of playing the role of like disgruntled person working in the Arctic.
Yeah.
But it's not like no one's ever like, Windows is my favorite character from The Thing. Like there's 2 characters from The Thing. There's like McCready and Childs. And I guess, Wilford Brimley too, if you count him. But most of the other people are just kind of like their bodies. It's not as bad as a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Like you watch Friday the 13th and it's like, oh, these people are no one. They're just like paper characters.
They're red shirts with a little bit more personality, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
you need somebody there to die, but at least they got somebody worthwhile to fill those roles.
I think there's definitely more of a bit into some characterization in the 2011 The Thing, because all of the characters are more or less like the same archetype, right, as the 1982. But there's some that they delve a little bit deeper into. But yeah, you do get a little bit. You're kind of on the shallow end on a lot of those people. Same deal, I guess, as 1982. Maybe 2 to 3 people. You get a little bit of backstory on Lars. You get a little bit of backstory on. Gosh, I don't even remember his name. The guy that's in Dumb and Dumber, Eric.
Oh,
Eric Olsen.
Is that the dude from Fired Up? That like blonde guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get a little bit on Joel Edgerton,
sorry,
which I thought was
Michelle
interesting.
Pointed out that movie last night.
I thought was interesting is that for me, not only is Joel Edgerton in this film, he seems like what they maybe initially had in the draft of The Thing being a reboot, of just being like, this will be our new McCready or something. Not just because he looks so similar and he's a helicopter pilot. He has like a lot of the same idioms and ways he acts and stuff, but they still kept him in the movie. So they're like, are we trying to say that we also had a McCready at this camp, but then also Mary Elizabeth Winstead is actually the McCready? I don't get it. That's one thing that kind of throws me off.
The Joel Edgerton thing, there's 2 things immediately that really cracked me up about the 2011 thing. The first was like the necessity to get some Americans in the movie. They were like, we can't just have a bunch of Norwegian people in this movie. So you have like Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Joel Edgerton and that other guy. Like they're like,
they have
put
one
a couple
African
of Americans
guy.
in here.
I think Mew and Joel Edgerton are like the only American ones. I think that guy is straight up African. Yeah.
He is African, and he's from Lost. He's Mr. Echo in Lost.
That's right.
He's a great role in Lost.
He's Adewale Akinyoye Agbaje is his name, I think.
Yeah, it's a big name. But Joel Edgerton, I was just thinking, like, this poor guy. This guy's like, he's still not a huge actor, I wouldn't say. You know what I mean? He's not like an A-list actor, but he's gotten a lot of bigger roles in the last, 10 years maybe. But at that time, it must have been so exciting. Like, what? I'm essentially going to be McCready in the Thing remake.
Yeah.
And then like he gets the script or something. And he's like, oh no.
Oh wait.
No, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Ramona Flowers is the McCready now.
I got to take that back too.
So-
The Adewale is actually an English actor. He's not.
Oh, is he really?
Not African. Yeah, but I was gonna say, like exactly what you were saying. I just want to know, the thing has such a reputation, and I want to know what the pitch was. You know what I mean? I want to be there at the pitch meeting for the guy, even if it was Matisse who was actually getting it remade. It was just like, I want to touch on this beautiful masterpiece that's like one of a kind that kind of flopped when it came out, but is now a cult classic, and I want to make it again.
Yeah, well, I would specify even more. I'd say like it really flopped. Like The Thing famously did not do well. It got released like the same weekend as E.T. and it just got obliterated. And I think that
and Blade Runner.
It also put John Carpenter in like a bit of a depression because even critically, people were saying that the movie was just like an abomination.
Hilarious.
Like there's interviews from Roger Ebert calling it just like an unnecessary gore fest, like for depraved weirdos and things like that. But I don't know. I feel like it's actually a good movie for a remake.
Yeah, that sounds like a positive review to me. Like it's like, yeah, man, let's go.
Well, the weird thing is that he positively reviews some really graphic horror movies, but for some reason, The Thing just like it wasn't the thing for him.
What a bunch of idiots.
Did Roger Ebert ever review Dead Alive?
Ooh, I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
I'm gonna do Google fingers on that real quick.
Hit it, Google boy.
But what were we talking about? Sorry, I got a little thrown up.
Sure did.
Oh, what did he say about Dead Alive?
He sure did.
Because that's Peter Jackson.
Well, the first thing I see is quote, one of the most disgusting horror films ever made.
Yeah, right on. That's a real gross one. I love that movie.
Side note, I've been trying to watch it, and it's impossible to find.
Really? It might be some sort of a
what is it also called? Brain Dead?
Brain Dead's the other name of it.
That's it.
From good old Peter Jackson.
Anyway.
Anyways, back to our thing here. So, and I feel like we didn't even really explain this movie at all. Like if someone is just listening casually and they're just like, what's this movie about? The Thing is basically...
Our familiarity with it is our downfall. We're just too comfortable with The Thing already.
Exactly. We're assuming too much information. The Thing is basically the movie version of Among Us, the video game that everyone knows right now. And it's based
some context for you,
right? It's just like these guys are out at in all the movies, they're in some Arctic base and they discover something in the ice. It's like an alien of some sort. And then that alien has the ability to shapeshift and imitate people and also like spread itself around. It's not necessarily one entity. Like The Thing can literally spread to different people and things like that.
It's like a virus. It's a single cell. It's like an advanced single cell organism or something, right?
Yeah, because that's what all these creatures are. They're really just like colonies of mutated, like imitated cells,
Mm-hmm.
Which is terrifying. It could be any one of us in this room. Luckily, we're on a Zoom call, so we're not in danger.
That reminds me, there's this part in The Thing 2011 where after the Norwegians find out that like Mary Elizabeth Winstead comes in and has the big McCready moment where she's like, oh, it could be anyone. Here's the proof. And here's why I know, what's going to happen and all this. And then the Norwegians are immediately like, well, you know what? We need to quarantine everybody. It's not safe. We don't know what's going on. So we need to make sure that we stay here. And I was like, wow, the Norwegians got it together. The Norwegians, they take a quarantine seriously and they're just ready to go.
Of course they would. They have universal health care, David.
Do they?
They got this down.
I don't know if Norway does. I'm sure they do.
They do.
That's so crazy. So, let me, I had a couple notes specifically about the remake. Did you guys notice the score at the beginning of this movie? I don't know if it stood out to anybody else, but it seems so off in The Thing 2011. If you rewatch the first 10 minutes of the movie, the score is straight up like a James Bond movie and it's like a 90s one. It sounds like GoldenEye for some reason. And it's just so weird because it's so opposite.
I think they do hit the Ennio Morricone one at the end, right? Like it goes straight into that, I believe.
They bring it back at the end because if at the end of 2011 thing, I mean, I guess you could technically edit the movies together and it wouldn't skip a beat. Like it would end right where the other one picks up, which is kind of cool.
That one dude with the rifle would look a little bit weird between the two cuts, you know what I mean? Because it's a different guy. But besides that, I mean, it's there.
And
I really like that they even changed the ending font to be the beginning font of the thing 1982.
Yeah, that was a nice detail.
I didn't notice that. That totally went over my head. There was something else. Oh, I mean, I'm sure you guys spotted it, but Tormund's in the 2011 thing from Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
that's right.
I was so stoked.
That's right.
I was so stoked to see him. I was like, man, I saw that movie when it came out, so I must have known. I didn't recognize him in Game of Thrones though, but he's got a gruesome death. He's got a really gruesome death. Oh, you know what?
He really did.
You know what else? Let's talk about the effects a little bit because Danny already touched on this a wee bit. I think this is a big contention point because if anything, that was a lot of the charm of the 1982 thing. And I think that's what a lot of people really latched onto is the practical effects. And I'm sure you guys have heard this. It's like a pretty popular factoid or whatever. But the 2011 one, they had practical effects, and you can even see them like on the Blu-ray or if you look up the special features or whatever. But the studio said that like no, it looked too dated and that people aren't into that anymore. So they scrapped them and they like replaced stuff with CGI, which is such a shame. I wish I could have seen this movie with that.
Well, yeah. Apparently, the movie was like 85 or 90% prosthetics, and I mean not prosthetics, but actual special effects.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, like the movie studio said that people wouldn't want to see that, and instead they scrapped all that, and they had them reshot and spent more money on the computer graphics that were proven to like not last time. It's just classic Hollywood negligence.
Good old studio execs. They really know what movie fans want, you know?
And I've listened to a couple
This is like a huge disconnection.
Yeah. I've listened to a couple of conversations about this, like why they did it. And I get it, but it's also like it's not the absolute saving grace of the movie. Like the script itself and the screenplay wouldn't make it a much better movie if it was all practical effects. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, it would probably bump it up a good 20% more in rating, but like, I would appreciate it more for sure. It probably would have had more of a cult influence and just been like, well, yeah, the writing was bad, but man, the movie was great, rather than, oh, it's got some dated effects now. And also it's just like a cheap reboot prequel.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I think it would have hit harder with the core audience. That's the weird thing. They took a movie that had no appeal to a massive audience and then thought, how can we change it to make it appeal to a massive audience? And it's like, well, you guys gotta miss the point here. I don't know what you were thinking. I mean, most of the CGI isn't terrible, but there are a couple times in that movie where I was like, Last of Us 2 looks better than this. Like at some points I was like especially there's one towards the beginning where the guy's face splits in half. And I was like, I've definitely seen Infected and Last of Us 2 that look better than this CGI from a 2011 movie, which is kind of ridiculous.
How far the graphics have come.
Yeah, it's also missing that charm you get from the original thing that we're discussing here. Gets from just being an 80s like sci-fi horror. It's got that like little bit of cheese element to it with Kurt Russell as your leading man. That guy's gonna ham it up a little bit. Everything goes like kind of super cartoonishly perfect in some scenes, like when McCready's throwing the grenade or the stack of dynamite down the hole to destroy like the spaceship the alien throws together. It bounces like perfectly underneath the spaceship. It's like absolutely ridiculous. And the 2011 one's just like missing that schlocky kind of charm. It's like just enough, like a light little glaze of schlock.
That's funny too, because it's like the opposite of what Kurt Russell is in Big Trouble in Little China, where he can't get like anything right, and in The Thing, he's just happens to be totally in command.
Mm-hmm. He was like made for the situation.
Like as far as comparing both like beginnings of the film, I mean, obviously, 1982 starts off so prolifically, I guess you could say, in a more prolific way So much so that like 2011 had to end that way to kind of not only tie it together, but be like, oh, an extra, ooh, you remember this? But, 1982 is the thing. Yeah, it starts off that way. 2011, the thing, like you were saying, David, you can notice instantly the score is different. It's just panning shots of like Antarctica, and then it zooms in on the whatever the snow roving vehicle is where they discover it. But I do like that scene where they fall in the ice and they discover the ship, and you actually get to see the mass scale of the ship. And they do go into that further in this one. I like that difference in that. There's a lot more fan service into the lore of the thing that kind of pays off a bit more, I'd say.
There was one thing about that ice scene that I couldn't wrap my head around. And it's when they fall through that crack, they fall like a good amount, don't they? Like when they slide in on that vehicle, it's far.
Yeah, it's
and
far.
then they reach the ship. And then later in that movie, the ice that covers that ship is like exposed. And then when you watch the 82 one, that's how they find it. But
yeah,
the ice isn't that thick. Like in the 82 one, it's like it's a really shallow thing
it's a huge crater.
It's a big crater. Like it's big in diameter, but
the picture,
the ship isn't that deep into the ice. And in the 2011 one, it looks like they fall almost like 100 feet or something. They're like sliding down this big thing. And for the most part, I think 2011 is a really interesting concept because they just took little details from 82. Like, oh, when they showed up to this camp, they saw that building was on fire. So then they wrote in a set piece to make sure that building was on fire. You know what I mean? They did a good job of covering all their tracks, but that seemed like the one thing to me that was like, this is a weird one to miss compared to everything else you guys got right. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just nitpicking over here. It just really cracked me up.
Hey, that's what we're here for.
We're here for nitpicking.
We're here to nitpick. That's what we do.
Yeah, you know what? That's way more honest. We do way less hard facts, way more nitpicking. And that's a fact.
We're switching over on this episode to a whole new campaign slogan.
Rolling out 2020.
Did you guys notice any difference between the two movies as far as how the thing behaved? Did the thing more or less act like it did in the 1982? Or did it act more ferociously in the 1982 or 2011? What do you think?
I think it was a little bit more aggressive in 2011 and just like seeking more victims out. I think it was just a little bit more offensive in the 2011.
I caught that same thing, but to me it makes sense storyline wise because it's like the thing maybe played it too aggressive that first round. So in 82, when he's going round 2 with those Americans, he's like, okay, I need to lay back a little bit, you know? And it's interesting the stuff that they choose to reveal. Like in the first movie, you learn immediately, because it's the reveal, that the dog is the thing. So for the rest of the movie, you're like, well, I can't trust animals. But in the 2011 movie, the people in the story, they haven't observed that. They think that it's only humans. So the dog is kind of just like ignored the whole movie, and it could have been a thing all along. Who knows how long it was the thing.
No, but you're right. It's good. It's crazy being able to see that the alien might have learned from its mistakes and is adapting in that and putting a lower profile into the 1982. And you know, maybe in reality, it's because of the restrictions that the budget had that they couldn't afford all these grandiose things in the 1982, and maybe that it's just the way the movie is. It's more of a mystery thriller in ways like that. But if either way, in the context of seeing both of these films back to back, there's new bridges you can make and connections about that. I like the way you're thinking. I like what you're putting down, my friend.
It also kind of plays into with the connection of the thing. I think it was really smart that in the first movie, they didn't just go blood test again. I think that would have been really easy just to have that same scene because they had already lit it on fire. Someone could have just been like, well, they react to fire. Let's, you know, and that would have felt really bad. I think that would have, you know, sunk the movie for sure. But I like the whole inorganic material idea in the movie that the thing can't replicate fillings or braces or that little earring. That's a big tell towards the end of the movie. It's just
That's super innovative.
yeah. I thought that was one of the more clever little ideas. It's clear that those guys really kind of like sat down and had to think about, what can we do in this movie? We're picking the same setting, and we're picking like literally the day before. Like we don't have any time necessarily. The thing can't be portrayed wildly differently. So what can we add in that, can add something new to the story? Because that's challenging too, man. I mean, just to make a movie with the intentions of it being a prequel, but how many things are there that you can do with this kind of story? You know what I mean? Like there's only so many ways you can take it, like the isolation and someone's not who they say they are thing. So
It also goes to show you that Norwegian dentists were giving out aluminum fillings like candy on Halloween, man.
Or maybe they were dealing out a whole bunch of candy to give those kids those cavities, man. That's how the dentist gets you. Sketchy Norwegian dentists. Never trust them.
and that one guy too, he's so upset. He's like, "What? I'm gonna get burned because I floss?" It's like, dang, that is rough. Yeah,
Yeah.
The plan in the first movie is not as foolproof as the one in the second one. Like McCready came up with a better contingency plan. I don't think we've talked about our leads very much. Like we already kind of touched on. The ensemble cast is a bit thin, but to be fair, it is a movie about mystery. So it is kind of cool to not really know too much about the characters. I think it adds into like the feeling of distrust. But our leads are the ones that we get to see the most of. We got Kurt Russell as McCready and Mary Elizabeth Winstead as, what's her name again? What did you guys say it was?
Kate Lloyd, I think her name is.
Jake Lloyd?
Kate Lloyd. Okay. Yeah. See, I feel like I don't really know the names of people, but what do you think about these two characters? Like compared McCready and Lloyd?
You start off, Frank. Take away.
Not that Mary Elizabeth Winstead's performance was like subpar or anything. Just character-wise, McCready's more fun of a character for sure. Not that McCready isn't practical. I feel like Lloyd was just a little bit more based in practicality. She pretty much had a cool head about her for most of the time. It probably would have been fun to see a little bit more freakouts, a little bit more panic and fear. But we get a lot of really good panic and fear faces from what's his face? The guy from Game of Thrones. I forgot his name already.
Oh, Tormund.
Christopher Hivju.
Thank you, Danny. Yeah, Tormund. We would get a lot of Tormund faces, a lot of like, which is really fun. But yeah, I mean, McCready's going to last way longer in my heart, He's always going to be the one that I'm going to consider picking first when we're playing the Thing board game. And if they do a remake with the board game, I'll probably just choose one of the side characters as opposed to a Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
I was thinking...
I'd have to say the same. I mean, McCready's like a pop culture icon. Oh, go ahead, David.
Oh, you're good. I mean, all I was going to say was that I feel like it would be cool to get an expansion of the Thing board game that's just like Thing 2011. You know what I mean? Just a different group of characters. That'd just be fun. I'd be down. That game's great.
It would be a nice little addition for sure. And the hat, I mean, like they should have given Mary Elizabeth Winstead some type of hat, like to compete with McCready's hat. Or maybe they just thought, how do you beat a hat like that? And they just threw the hat out the window.
That might be the biggest difference, man, is that like aesthetic look of Kurt Russell. He's got like the dopest beard. Let's be honest, man. I mean, like Kurt Russell's beard in the Thing is powerful. He's got that sweet hat. He's got the jacket. Like he just looks like he's there to take care of business. Where Mary Elizabeth Winstead looks like she's going to go to Whole Foods or something. She doesn't look like dressed for anything.
Dude, McCready even looks dope when he gets separated for a second and he finally gets his way back into the base and he's all like frozen. You know what I mean? His like beard is just full of ice. He still looks so sick. He looks like some crazy kind of ice king.
Frozen 3.
Yeah. What about yourself, guys? Where I mean, I'm sure I know where you lie. Just I don't know what other.
I mean, the cast is just way more memorable in general. I think you're touching on it right, Frank. I mean, we've kind of discussed that a bit. It's just not only are the individual cast members more memorable as compared to 2011's. Like I think the only other cast member that we remember is Tormund, and that might just be because he's from Game of Thrones. But we also, I mean, I know I remember Lars, who was kind of like Mary Elizabeth Winstead's like bodyguard for most of it. He was the bigger Norwegian gentleman. Then you have basically the Blair character, who was Wilfred Brimley's kind of like the evil Norwegian character. You know what I mean? But even then, when I think about the Thing cast, the 1982 cast, I can still recall. I can still recall like Windows and oh my gosh, what's his name?
Well, you can't look it up, Danny. That's the
I
point.
was just gonna say I can't. Yeah,
I mean,
Knowles, exactly.
That's the only point I'm trying to make. I think the Thing 1982. I mean, they're fun characters, but most of them are just totally pointless, or they're just bodies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's some tropes that stay the same, like the guy who's in charge who doesn't want to give up his ability to be in charge, and we're gonna do things my way, even though it's dumb. But did you guys catch who Windows was? I never noticed this before. Like, I picked it up a few episodes ago.
He's from the Warriors, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Fox, man. I watched both of those movies for years, and I never made that connection. And when we were doing the Warriors,
that's funny.
When we were doing that Warriors review, I saw it on IMDb, and I was like, oh man, what? I'm blown away.
I'm pretty sure I've even made that joke when we've played the board game Thing, like, ooh, I'm going to be Windows because I know this guy can bop.
Ooh, see, I just thought you were just being like...
an idiot?
I thought you were talking about PC.
No, I'm very clever, David.
I think it's funny that, David, you kind of made a really good comparison in the... Like, that's probably the most notable difference of the two casts, too, is like, culture-wise, all of the Norwegian scientists are very... learned and studied, and not only that, they even if they're not scientists, they're very collective as a whole, and are just like, okay, well, this is what's better for the entire base. Whereas everyone in the American base is totally individualist and is just like, I am not an alien, you know what I mean? Like, they're gonna isolate. And
I love that part, man. It's so funny. It makes me want, like, they should just keep doing movies. You know what I mean? Where we find out that, like, after 1982 Thing, the next day it went to that, like, German base. And then we see what all the German people react to. It's like a social experiment. Which, if you guys, this is just a total tangent, but last Thanksgiving, Brandon and I read all of the Thing sequel comic books. And there's a couple that are actually pretty good. But I mean, again, it doesn't get much further. Like, it's kind of the same thing that happens here. The story has to be the same. Oh, the Thing is here. We can't trust anyone. And let's slowly pick people off. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
it is what it is. It's not Star Wars. It's not supposed to be some giant galaxy of possibilities. And if anything,
part of it's a continuation on MacReady, right? Part of it's like a sequel with MacReady.
They always follow MacReady. It follows MacReady and Childs. And there's like two separate stories. And I think in both stories, Childs is a thing. I'm pretty sure in both of them, they kind of like squash that long-standing question. Is Childs a thing? Dun, dun, dun.
That's why he's so ornery, because he's got an infection with an alien cells in his body.
Oh, no.
He's got all them teeth and no toothbrush.
Childs is so ornery because of his medulla oblongata.
Can we talk about the great implementation of 80s computers that we see in the 1982 Thing? Where we have this just like...
my goodness.
In the 80s, if you had any problem, you could just type in your question into a computer, and then it would somehow like make a graphical realization of it, and also like give you sweet tips. Like, here you go, man. This is...
And he wasn't even like... And he wasn't even typing a question. He was doing some like quick keys thing, you know what I mean? It's some type of shorthand that's like pre-programmed in the computer for this situation, you know? That it's almost hard to watch that scene. It's so like
that part's
it's
real
way
dumb.
less believable than the grand plot.
And it's really
like, part of me wants to believe that John Carpenter wouldn't think our audiences are that dumb, and hope that it was just the studio just being like, no, got to spell it out for them, man. They can't look at it on this computer wobbly jobbly and think what's going on.
That is just a big old exposition dump. That's what that scene is. We need to find a way to get everyone on the same page. What has infinite possibilities? Computers. No one even knows how this works. It's the 80s. Let's use a computer. It's so silly, but I love it.
Yeah, computers were like magnets to them back then. Nobody knew how they worked.
Well, if we could,
Magic.
in the 2011, we have that computer at the end inside of that spaceship, and it just looks like I don't know, like an Atari game rendered in 3D. It's so weird. It looks like a complicated brick breaker or something.
Oh, that part's really cool. I like that. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that part was really cool. I thought the graphics actually looked really decent at that point.
I was just laughing at the design. The design to me it stuck out as so strange. Like, we have this giant spaceship, but we communicate in like 1-bit like graphical technology. I don't know. It just seems so weird.
They're aliens, David. They're very efficient. They don't see the need for flashy graphics.
You know what though? That scene,
they saw us doing Java and they were like,
That scene is the one CGI scene that really bugs me when the thing shows up and it's got that guy's. It looks like it's just like taped on his face or something. It's so dumb. That one looks really bad. And
I don't know if it's supposed to play off of the end of 1982 and it's like you kind of see Blair's face shift a little bit, you know what I mean? But man, it was so bad. And he kind of like looks around as it's like on this little like this little podium thing. It's just looking around like a stupid little caterpillar.
It's so dumb looking, man. And you know what? That last 20 minutes of the movie to me they needed to streamline it. There were too many times where it was like Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Edgerton like, okay, we're together. Let's take this thing on. Oh no, we've got separated for a little bit. Let's go run off in our own direction. We're back together. Okay, let's do this. We're separated again. Like it keeps happening. It happens like 3 times in the last 20 minutes. And I'm just like, wrap it up.
I also don't get that they like ran over the top of the spaceship as the thing is like firing it up to get out of there. But Mary Elizabeth Winstead like falls in one of the air intakes or something like that, which is presumably like stories down.
Dude, that part is...
Or you would think she would just get like sucked into the engine, you know?
Yeah. That part of the movie feels so disjointed, specifically that scene. Like they were like, okay, we're here, but we don't know how to get to the next scene. Let's just separate them real quick. And I was like, ugh, it feels weird. And it also feels like it was unnecessary. They could have just sped the movie up by 5 minutes and I don't think anyone would have complained. Just by cutting out a couple of those scenes where, I mean, when you compare it to the original thing,
I don't even think we needed to see the inside of the ship.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. The movie's, it's about mystery, right? This alien race is about like not knowing. And in a way, sometimes it's better not to show it. Like it's better just to leave it up to the imagination. And that's the spirit of the last movie too, of the 82 one. You know, we're not going to just spell everything out. We're going to let you kind of like, because even today, there are people who are like, what happened to this character and this character? And there's a lot of unanswered questions in that movie. Some which I heard were apparently like impossible. Like people have really looked in. There's a couple shadowy figures in the original 82 where it's basically like, we don't know what character this can be. And we don't think it is a character. We think John Carpenter just put a shadow in here to like freak people out. But I don't know. It's one of those really dissected movies. I do got to say though, I think pacing wise, that first Thing movie is so perfect. Like John Carpenter doesn't always nail pacing, but that one is killer, man. And it's probably my favorite Carpenter movie too. I think easily The Thing.
The soundtrack is one of my absolute favorites too. I mean, God, it's so minimal compared to what they do in the 2011. You know what I mean? And it's in a Ennio Morricone soundtrack, but it's also like totally different for him. It's nothing like anything he's done before, you know?
Yeah, and I think there is some John Carpenter.
And it still very much carries that John Carpenter vibe, yeah, with the John Carpenter stuff.
Yeah. Man, all that's great. Huh. Is there anything else that we're missing here? Is there anything you guys want to touch on either of these movies?
Not so much on either of them. I just would say like give the 1951 one a watch as well. It's definitely worth a watch. You can rent it on Prime for like $2.
Ooh.
So if you have like an hour and a half to kill, you know what I mean? Just give it a shot. It's definitely worth the view.
You know, I haven't seen it, Frank. That's really interesting that you've seen it. I should watch it, being a fan of both of them.
I just finished watching it. And, you know, if I could just say a couple things, I won't spoil anything too bad. but the movie is surprisingly similar. I was expecting it to be like completely different. I mean, there are drastic differences, but the premise is kind of the same. The funny thing about the 50s movie is they talk in that like 50s dialogue. And they all have that like 1950s voice where they talk like this, and then all their lines are like back to back.
They have to talk real loud for the camera.
It's like people will say something and the other character responds with no time to think or process about what that person
like there's
said.
no brevity.
It's just like bam, 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 bam.
There's no time in between.
You got to be ready for that. And
let's recite these lines.
I wrote down one of the lines because I thought it was so funny. It's good to know where he comes from. They don't breed for beauty. That's what they say when they find the alien. I'm like, wow, this is great. But yeah, the scientists find something trapped in ice. It looks very similar to the other two Thing movies. And they're trying to get the ship out, and they accidentally blow the ship up. Okay, that's like a slight spoiler. But then they end up getting
that's pretty solid.
They end up getting the alien out, right? And when they're trying to get the alien out, the line of dialogue they say is, "We already pulled one boner out there on the ice. Like, let's make sure we don't screw this next thing up." I'm like, man, this movie's amazing. I love this.
Yeah, somebody even makes a comment where they keep like fumbling stuff, and he's just like, "Wow, we did this and this in one day. What a bunch of butterfingers."
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And then there's two more little details that I want to tell the viewer about. Danny, maybe take your headphones out. These aren't super huge spoilers, but the alien in the original is plant-based. They make a point to have a scene of dialogue about that, where they find out that the alien has some sort of like, plant-like structure. And they say that on this other planet, they must have evolved from plants like we evolved from animals. But because they didn't have any sort of sexual desires or like greed or anything, they evolved faster than us. It's a little bit of clunky dialogue. I don't know why they chose to make him a plant, or also like assume so much about this other planet and they don't even know what the timeline is.
Some wild scientific assumptions.
Yeah, they're throwing them out there,
and they don't even have fancy computers that give you all the answers, man.
But then they even toss out, one of the guys is like, "What are you trying to say? This is some sort of super carrot?" And he's like, "You're not too far from the truth." It's really good stuff, man. But I do got to say this. There is no like hidden person. There's no imposter among us scenario in the original Thing. The original Thing, it's more of like an invader from outer space and we have to defeat him. But that whole mystery,
it
all
is
that is
the
not
thing.
there. So just keep that in mind. That's my only caveat. You can't go in expecting, who is the alien? If you want that, you got to watch that Twilight Zone episode. Will the real Martian please stand up? It's a solid.
Which is like, which are all just like solid points to say that like the Thing 1982 reigns supreme, man. They added everything they needed to make it a classic. They didn't throw in too much to ruin it. Give them the crown,
Still wins on RVO. It looks like the O is taking this one for the W.
I wonder how many. What was the other one we just did? We did another RVO.
Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka, that's right. And obviously, original. I'm excited to get to the movie.
O takes the dub.
I'm excited to get to the movie where it's like, the remake, We'll have to see how it goes.
Ooh, I think we've got one coming up sometime. Yeah, I think we've planned a couple.
I'll have to look at our schedule again. It's top secret.
I would also say, as we're moving on, if I may, gentlemen,
of course,
about some future news. I think we've brought it up here on the channel before, but it's worth reinstating, especially when it's on a episode about the subject matter. But they are currently working on a new The Thing. And by they, I mean Blumhouse, which could go one way or the other, in my personal opinion.
Blumhouse, man, Blumhouse, they're throwing stuff at the wall. They're seeing what sticks. Like, they put out some bangers and they put out some garbage. And it feels like you guys are tarnishing
Did you
yourself.
see that there's a new Freaky Friday coming out?
I did not see that, Danny.
It was like on the TV. It's a new Freaky Friday with Vince.
Is it Blumhouse?
It is Blumhouse.
They should just get Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis again.
It's Vince Vaughn. Apparently, they're like doing a thing where like the female lead like switches bodies with the serial killer, and the serial killer is Vince Vaughn, and I just right there, it makes me want to throw up. It's
I
so
did see
bad.
that, but I was thinking more of like the hot chick vibes.
Exactly.
It's not like
That's
one for
exactly
one
what
Freaky
they're going
Friday,
off
but
of.
it's like the offshoot Freaky Friday or the hot chick kind of thing. You know what I mean?
They already did it.
yeah.
For sure.
It's not even an original like skewed idea.
And they just did Fantasy Island, and that was just unwatchable. And
I've missed all of this. What? This is so weird.
but that's why I'm saying this could go one way or the other, because Blumhouse is also behind Get Out, which I think it's technically a Blumhouse release.
Yeah.
But then on the same side, like, I don't know if you guys are on Prime Video, but Blumhouse just like spooged out all of these like things that they just stamp their name on. It's just like Blumhouse presents.
Especially this last couple months, dude. Like for this Halloween season, they were tossing them out. And I don't know. After watching, like I got myself caught up on some essential horror from these past few years that I missed out on. And holy shoot, dude, like A24 is where it's at. I wish A24 was the one doing this.
Yes, it is.
That would
Oh, dude, I got to tell you, man.
yeah.
I mean, A24's got those hits. It's got It Follows. It's got The Witch. It's got The Lighthouse. It's got Hereditary, Midsummer. I'm curious though, David. Maybe we'll all talk about this a bit, but from your spooky season watch, because I guess this is technically the end of our spooky season.
Yeah, I have a few more.
What stood out the most to you?
Oh shoot, dude. Oh my gosh. Okay, give me 1 second. It's at the point where if you're not familiar, I've been doing one a day, but I actually squeezed in a couple extra on some days. So it's like the 27th, and I'm pretty sure I've seen 30 horror movies in the last 27 days. And man, some of
Wow, what an overachiever.
Oh my god.
yeah, like some of them, my brain's got a little bit muddled about it. Like I don't remember all of them exactly. Let me just scroll through here real quick and see if there was one that just really, really stuck out to me. Don't Breathe was one I never saw before and was just really enjoyable, super fast paced and just really entertaining. The Faculty is so enjoyable in a totally opposite way. It's just hot garbage, but it's so funny and the performances are so outlandish. And the cast is got a lot of memorable people. Let me see. It Follows.
I'm curious, David.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Did you just see It Follows?
That was the first for me too. I gotta say, it was all right. I thought it was okay. I like the mood of it. That was what I really enjoyed. There were a few like logical gaps for me.
The soundtrack is great. Yeah.
Soundtrack's killer. And then
I'm curious for you, David, though.
Yeah.
I'm curious to think what you thought about Annihilation, because I know I've been pushing that one at you guys for a bit.
I love Annihilation, man. I loved Annihilation. That might be my favorite one of this whole season. Happy Death Day was actually a bit of a surprise too. I didn't really think I was gonna be crazy about that movie. That's fun. Dude, Hereditary was fantastic and so sad. So incredibly sad. And you know what else? Sinister was pretty spooky, man. Sinister had some freaky scenes in it.
Dude, it is.
I just wish that they didn't go so heavy into the like let me see here. It's like Bagul, like dun dun dun. You know what I mean? It's like it's like the end of the movie, him just like jumping into the frame. I liked so much more when they were doing all these like creepy found footage stuff. Like they just found that box of old, Super 8 film, and some of those were like really disturbing. But dang, dude, it was a good horror season. I have a few more coming up to finish it out. Mostly things I've seen. But I gotta say, I think this year, if I had to pick just one, I'd probably give it to Annihilation, man, because it's like 2001: A Space Odyssey mixed with like Predator in a weird way, and also like I don't even know what else you would
condensed.
Oh man, it's so good, and I think
it's like a cosmic horror that's just so perfect.
They should have picked a better name. I think that's honestly where they went wrong. I think Annihilation sounds so bland, and it just doesn't. it's nothing to get crazy like over. So, but that's where I'm at there.
Yeah, that's kind of like the author's fault, because I actually have the trilogy in the book, and I started reading it by Jeff Vandermeer, the source material that Annihilation's based off of. And I think it's called the Area X series, which is less imaginative overall. But but it's pretty cool. I do wish also that they had gone with a more marketable name, though, because Annihilation kind of gives you like this weird analogous kind of feel about the movie.
So what about you guys? Was there anything you watched this Halloween season? Maybe something new that really stood out to you?
You know, it's funny. I actually did a bunch of rewatches, like you said, and as I saw you posting on the page like all these movies, and I was like scrolling up every other day, going like, yeah, David's catching up, yeah, and those are a lot of the same beats that I hit. I have my favorites, you know what I mean? I watched The Witch again. I watched It Follows. I watched It Comes at Night. I watched. Everything in the A24 catalog is just amazing, man. And I really hope that they come out with like a 10 movie collection of just like A24's greatest hits sometime soon. But one thing that was surprisingly a couple watches that were really surprising. I watched the entire Saw saga, I guess you would say, up to Saw 8, which is Jigsaw.
Yes.
That's number 8, right, guys? Or is it 9? No.
I think so.
Either way.
No, I think Jigsaw's 9. I'm pretty sure. Let me see. I'll look it up.
There's a noticeable dip in quality like right after 4, but like it gets a little bit better as the technology gets better, I'd say. A lot of people, and including my girlfriend Raven, she was just like, I hate Jigsaw. I can't watch that movie. And I was like, it's weird because these guys are saying they love Jigsaw, so I gotta like know what it is. And I watched it, and the story kind of puts me off a little bit, but it was a better movie than like 5 and 6 and 7. So it ended out nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's perfectly okay. The weirdest thing about Jigsaw is how different it looks. It looks so clean compared to how disgusting and like low quality some of the Saw movies look like. That part really stands out to me.
Yeah, the production quality is great. And going off of kind of that same vibe, I think we'll have a Saw discussion at some point coming up in the future. But I actually rewatched all of the Tremors movies in preparation for the newest Tremors, Shrieker's Island, that just came out on Netflix, which is out now, and I highly recommend it, guys. It is just so good. Without talking too much about spoilers or anything, the production quality is great, the photography is great. It is a little cheeseball at some times, which all Tremors are, but it's good. It's really fun. And then I actually watched a bunch of B movies that Raven had showed me that I'd never seen before. One that we watched last night, which had a really stupid title, was called The Midnight Man, which is on Hulu. It's super strange. It's kind of like supernatural horror that takes place with like a game, and it has like Lin Shaye, the lady from Insidious, in it, and it's surprisingly pretty good, and I there's some good spooky moments, so I'd recommend that. But yeah, it was a good spooky season, let's just say. What about you, old Frankly?
So I'm actually glad we're doing this, because I was going to forego my time in Character Limit Extended to kind of talk about this a little bit, but now I can get out of the way, which is fantastic. So I just watched this movie last night or the night before, and not so much noteworthy for praise, but if you're like myself and you thought, hey, I love The Devil's Rejects, hey, I love House of a Thousand Corpses, Hulu's telling me I should watch this Lords of Salem film here, let's give it a go. Don't do it. What a pile of garbage. It's so unfortunate, because the main concept is pretty cool. It's about like this woman who's like the descendant of a witch hunter in Salem years later. Here's this recording of this like incantation of witches that her great grandfather like burned at the stake, and it kind of goes from there, you know what I mean? But unfortunately it's a Rob Zombie film, so not the best execution all the time. And it's unfortunate because I've been really excited to watch 3 from Hell with my new Shudder privileges. But now I'm scared, honestly. On how
I would be
gonna
scared, Frank. I've also heard that 31 is doo-doo.
Oh man, dude. Oh my goodness. I might just watch The Devil's Rejects and House of a Thousand Corpses again instead. Because I dearly love those films. What a letdown, Lords of Salem. I give it 2.
Hey, well, this is a great time to
That's
segue.
definitely part of spoopy season, I say.
Spoop. It's a big old pile of spoop. Well, I guess it's a good time to segue over to Character Limit Extended, where we take our last movie that we reviewed on our YouTube channel, David and Frank and Beans, and we talk about it a little bit more. And this week, we just did a review on Sleepaway Camp. But I mean, I know how Frank feels about it because we saw this together, I think, the first time we watched it. Or you know what happened? Michelle and I watched it, and then we were like, Frank, you need to come over. We need to watch this movie, dude. And we watched it again like the next night.
Oh, yeah.
So, Danny, why don't we start with you? I know you're new to this experience. What did you think?
Guys, I'm so happy that you guys gave me this recommendation. Like, I will say that it was a growing moment in that, like, probably 45, maybe 30 minutes into the film, I was like, why did these guys do this to me? Is this like a practical joke or something? And
no, we did it out of love from our hearts.
and you really, I mean, I guess we're in Character Limit Extended now, so we can talk spoilers or something, but like, spoilers, that ending is just, it makes the whole movie worth it. It makes the whole thing worth
Doesn't it?
It's just so freaking wild. And I remember just Raven rolling her eyes watching it with me the entire time. And we get to the end and we're both just like mouth open looking at each other. Like, what in the... And they have to show it. They have to show the little diddle too. And
yeah, you have to. Just to confirm, just so there's no more questions at the end of the movie. You're like, oh no, okay, so it was like the little boy. Okay, I can tell from the penis that this is actually a boy.
I think
there's like I said, dude, it's straight up just like a fever dream that.
Yeah, it totally is.
Oh, go ahead, David.
Oh, all I was gonna say is I just love. It's like a whodunit. And no one was guessing that. You know what I mean? It's like it's the most out there whodunit ever.
It's
yeah, because the whole time it's like it's trying to like tease that it's Ricky, you know what I mean? Because Ricky's constantly like, I'll kill all of you, you know what I mean? He's so full of like rage, like that it's just such an awesome like reveal at the end, you know. On a rewatch, obviously you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of see like what's going on here with her like sneaking around and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean that first time around, what a ride. What an awesome ride.
We had our suspicions it was her. You know what I mean? Like I had an idea, obviously, because of Subversion. It's just like, it's got to be her.
But
I
not
just
that it
didn't
was
think
like him, you know?
Yeah, that it was actually him. That's good. That's a good double reveal. But man, I mean, the acting is so weird in that movie. And just the dialogue, like I said, just sounds like a person who's never had a conversation with another human, like wrote those lines. And there's just so much like overt, weird, pedophilic things that just made me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the killer wasn't the only danger of the camp, for sure.
You know what else? The dialogue, another part that makes it feel so different, I think, is that for this slasher movie, they actually got teenagers. Like Ricky is like a teenager. You know what I mean? Usually you watch these movies and they're all like 27 or like 30 or something, trying to portray, you know, teenagers at summer camp. But it was kind of cool seeing like a bunch of kids play these roles. And the other thing too, the ending, it is the only thing that's a little cheap about it is that during the movie, there are times where it's clearly a man portraying that role of the killer.
Yeah.
You know, like they're trying so hard to fool you. And even there's that scene where with the straightening iron, that kill scene with the straightening iron, when you see the killer standing in the doorway, it's clearly Ricky in a wig, especially when you watch it like on a Blu-ray because the definition is so fine. And I was reading somewhere online that someone was like, yeah, you really got to watch this one on VHS. It kind of ruins it when you watch that scene because it's clear how deceitful they're being. But there's 2 more sleepaway camps with the same lead actress. They're free on Amazon Prime right now. It needs to happen. I need to watch these.
Oh my goodness. Well, guys, I got to go because something just came up. I will be seeing y'all later.
But well worth the watch. I mean, overall, super glad I watched it. I'll probably watch it again at some point. It's too hilarious.
It's a funny, goofy one.
Yeah, a lot of the performances I feel like are exactly what you need for this kind of movie too. On the silly side as well, but like the performance that the aunt gives, like at the tail end of the movie, it's terrifying. It's like psychologically, like it instills horror, like how crazy she is. She's so like trapped in her own mind. Yeah, dude, that's good stuff, man. Can't recommend this movie enough.
And you know, that costume, man, that costume, it's worth watching just to see that aunt's ridiculous costume. Yeah, I recommend too, man. How fun. And I'm also glad that we just lined up. It'd been a while since we had seen a movie that we see a lead and we were all on the same page about it. We've been at wit's end for a bit.
Yeah, it's nice. The boys are back in town.
I call it the Kung Pao curse, man.
Is that what we're doing? No, I think Warriors is where it happened, man. Yeah.
Warriors is kind of where that split happened.
What a strange year it's been.
Well, Franklin, I believe you have something for us.
That's right, gentlemen. It's time for... Oh, that's interesting. You know, in today's age, it's a little tough to find movie news these days because for the most part, it's just like canceled, postponed.
They're not made.
We're not doing it. You know, but lo and behold, Warner Brothers has just released the Conjuring 3 official first look trailer, which we all had a little look at before we started recording today. Conjuring 3 is going to involve the case of, let's see if I can find this gentleman's name, Arne Jackson, who used demonic possession as a defense in a murder trial. Let's see here. The new film, it takes inspiration from this trial. It's obviously going to feature the Warrens again. Good old Vera Farmiga. Excuse me. Oh my god, how embarrassing.
And Patrick Wilson.
How embarrassing. And also Patrick Wilson. Yeah, it's funny because we looked up, I found the article when we were doing like pre-production, I guess. And then I sent everybody the link and then we watched the video and then I didn't read the article because we just started recording after that. Warner Brothers had scheduled The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It for release in September, but due to everything, they're pushing the film back to 2021. But fear not, uninformed movie lovers. Our intro for the character Limited Exceeded is already recorded. It's in the bag. We're just waiting for the movie, and then we'll tell you.
Ready to go.
We'll tell you how good or bad it is, you know? So we only got to wait till June 2021. We'll get that coming to you. We'll have our first look trailer coming out soon.
I know the name of the trial is The Devil Made Me Do It case, but boy, what an unfortunate name. It just doesn't roll off the tongue, and it sounds so dumb.
It's not great. It's not as good as like...
well...
Oh, I thought that something was going to follow that well.
Sorry,
David.
no.
I was trying to give you the space for it for sure. I was like, oh well, let's see what he's gonna say.
But you know,
but that furthermore, let's see Yeah, they didn't really release a whole lot. They really just given a little peeksy, but it is nice to see that like this isn't one of the movies that's just going to get canned as a result of coronavirus. We will eventually get this one. Maybe some point around Quiet Place 3 or Quiet Place 2, whose intro is also in the bag, ready recorded, just waiting on the film.
The couple things that I noticed in this trailer. The first one is Patrick Wilson he's got a cane during part of it. So it's like, great, we're going to get another story about Vera Farmiga being like, I can't lose you. You're not strong enough. But we have to do this for God and for the people that we're going to help. But I love you so much. And then they'll be fine. They'll both be fine at the end. Or maybe they'll kill him. Maybe they'll kill old Night Owl. That'd be nice. But the other thing, man, they got the La Llorona director on this. I know we talked about this before. And that's the only part of this whole movie and the quote he even says, James Wan, he's like, you know what? I saw La Llorona and I said, you know what? This guy is someone who gets these kind of movies. And I was like,
Has James Wan lost touch?
No, he didn't mean like the integrity of the film. He meant the spirit of like, you make a film and then people give you money, so you make more films and they keep giving you money. That's what he meant. Like he understands like a cash grab.
Who are we gonna bet on? Like, what's gonna be the new wacky character that we get a spin-off film from? Because we already had Evil Doll, and then you got Spooky Nun. What's the logical one for the third movie?
It's supposed to be that crooked man.
I'm gonna go with like Confederate soldier. That's what I'm gonna guess. Confederate soldier ghost.
I like that.
That might be a little bit too touchy for this day and age. You might incite some feelings.
We did get Spooky Doll. I'm gonna call. Well, we already have like little kid. Hopefully it's a doggo. Hopefully it's a scary doggo.
Aww. Scary doggo.
When good boys go bad.
Like that spooky husky right back there.
I'm telling you, man, he keeps smirking. Something with the shadow lighting, but he's looking at me.
Well, that's who your
eyebrows move.
That's who you would expect.
Frank, move a little bit, yeah.
That's who you would expect because of the eyes. You know what I mean? But who it ends up being at the end of the movie? This cute guy back here, right underneath Cuba. So unassuming. But he's not even pulling his weight. He's riding the sled, man. This guy's the master of tricks over here.
That's the 1% of dogs.
For those of you that are listening to this, Frank's got a lovely Snow Dogs virtual background on this call.
I get confused sometimes. I thought we were talking about Snow Dogs today. What a waste of an hour and a half watching that film.
There happens to be a very insidious looking husky at the front of the picture that's right behind Frank and just keeps looking like he's about to murder some children.
He's kind of scary in this thing, man. He looks, I don't trust him. I don't trust that dog.
I wouldn't trust him. Mm-mm.
Well, boys, I think it's time, right? I think that was quite interesting. And I think maybe we should move on to...
That was interesting.
Our final event. Yeah! Peeps and Predicts. It's so stupid. Okay, let me see.
Perps and Predicaments.
Yeah, Peeps and Predicts. You know, it's a tale as old as time. You take two people, real or fictional, and you pit them against each other in a debate where we go into hypothetical situations. And today we have John Bender versus Uncle Buck. Couple of the John Hughes standout characters.
Two gentlemen who would make very interesting babysitters.
And in case you're not familiar, John Bender is Judd Nelson. I was about to call him Judd T. Nelson again. Judd Nelson's
always wanted to.
Yeah, I always want to add that T in there. He's Judd Nelson's character from The Breakfast Club. And Uncle Buck is from the film Uncle Buck.
The titular character, T.O. Buck.
Side note about John T. Nelson or Craig T. Nelson. I did watch Poltergeist 2 this spooky season, and not as good.
It's not as good as the first one, but it's still pretty all right.
Yeah.
It's definitely all right.
Yeah. Who would play the better imposter in the Thing board game?
Ooh.
John Bender. Well,
I don't know. I feel like you would
No.
expect John Bender, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect old Uncle Buck.
he'd be like the patsy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I gotta say this. I
Like,
think
come on, guys. Like, everybody loves me.
I think John Bender wears too much on his sleeve. You know, he's not dishonest. If anything, he's too honest. Whereas
No, he doesn't wear sleeves, David. He rips them
rips
off
them
of his flannel. Yeah, I think Uncle Buck's lied a couple times. He also has a really sunny disposition, but he's probably done some seedy things, as we see like in the intro of Uncle Buck. He's kind of lives in a seedy life.
Yeah, and we know he's witty. He's quick on his feet. He's quick at coming up with that BS.
He's got a dark side.
Carries a hatchet in his trunk. That's sketchy.
And if it comes down to it, I feel like I would trust John Candy more than I would Judd T. Nelson. You know what I'm saying?
I concur.
Okay. Well, that was easy. We got a point Buck. And for our next predicament, it is: who would be best at deceiving... No, I'm sorry. Who would be best... I can't read my own handwriting now. Who would be best at deducing an alien imposter without a blood test?
These are very topical. I'm glad we got these ones.
Interesting. Well, my initial reaction was to rely on John Bender's street smarts, you know what I mean? But Uncle Buck's also very street smart. If anything, he's been street smart for longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Judd T. Nelson or John Bender's got like a little bit of that arrogance that probably would keep him from knowing as much or trusting his instincts as much as Uncle Buck has.
Yeah, I think I get what you're getting. You're saying he's got some Anakin Skywalker Revenge of the Sith vibes. And you're not going to be able to deduce much when you're consumed by the dark side. That's what Revenge of the Sith really taught us.
John Candy has the higher ground.
He does. Don't try it.
Yeah, I think John Candy would have the pullout here. I feel like Judd Nelson would get frustrated with the situation and like storm off. You know what I mean? He wouldn't even be about solving this problem.
Yeah.
He'd be about taking care of himself.
Well, should we move on to the finals?
I think it's Uncle Buck versus Brendan Fraser time.
Oh no. These
It
are two
is.
guys that I don't want to fight. I don't want them to go up against each other.
Well, Brendan
love them
Fraser's
both.
got a bad back, but Uncle Buck's dead. So if it's a physical altercation, I think Fraser might have the advantage.
Uncle Buck never dies. John Candy dies.
That's true.
Who would be more likely to have enough patience and skill to complete the Thing video game for the original Xbox and PC? And PS2, I think.
For those who have never played this game before, it is pretty difficult to get through.
It's a bit clunky. It hasn't aged well.
I don't know where to start on this one, honestly.
Yes.
I got a spot here. So we know that Brendan Fraser's a real person, right? So
Well, I've never seen him in real life.
Yeah. People say Brendan Fraser exists. None of us have ever seen him.
if you talk like that, he won't visit you on Christmas. But he's a real person who's now living in 2020. Maybe he plays video games, but you know what? He's for sure been around them for quite a long time. Whereas Uncle Buck is a film character from like the early 90s. So even if he did play a video game, he'd be playing like Duck Hunt on the NES.
Pac-Man.
And then
Galaga.
And then to hop over to an early Xbox title? I don't know, guys.
Yeah. And that's not even like a player-friendly controller.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you got to have... I don't know what Brendan Fraser's hand size are like, but you got to have some big old hands to play the X-Bone original controllers. They're huge.
They have some smaller ones, too. It's not just the big old one.
There's some solid
Duke.
third-party controllers for that generation,
The
for
Duke
sure.
is-
Yeah.
what it was
Oh, yeah.
called.
I remember the little slimmer ones.
Mhm.
I'm talking OG hand splitters.
That thing's massive.
Yeah, that big
kinda
old
miss that
boy.
controller.
half the size of a automobile steering wheel.
Right? Because Microsoft decided we need to have a giant X in the middle of our controller that's not even pressable.
Yeah, even if it just clicked and did nothing, I'd be pretty satisfied with that. But that's another topic altogether. I would say in Brendan Fraser's on his side, he probably had some time to get into video games when he was laid up recovering from that back injury. You know what I mean?
There you go.
You got to fill the time somehow.
He at least has experience with a Wii Fit, probably.
I wonder if Brendan Fraser owns a Wii.
Everyone does. Let's be honest. You go into someone's garage, there's a Wii in there somewhere.
The only thing, well, no, yeah, I was gonna say like Uncle Buck's probably got some patience. He did all right with those kids for the most part. He's like a gambler, which I think is like a different type of patience. It's more like an ignorant patience, like I'm just waiting for to hit the one, you know. But yeah, I still think Brendan Fraser, just being a more modern man, he saw more of modern times versus like this character who's frozen forever in the 80s. I think Brendan Fraser has the advantage on this one.
I concur.
I'd agree.
Well, gentlemen, it is decided. Brendan Fraser's reign will continue on through Peeps and Predicts, much like in life, remaining at the top. How fantastic.
That's right. And for those, everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Please, if you're watching this, go ahead and click the subscribe button below. Click the bell. Go ahead and follow us on Spotify. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. If you like the intro music, that's us. That's our band, Phantom Kin.
Yeah, we did that.
Check it out. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple too. You can find us on the social medias. Follow at Uninformed Movie Reviews, where old David here makes some great posts, especially on spooky season, about movies you should check out. Very easily digestible. And we also do posts about every podcast that comes out at least once every other Sunday or something like that. They're pretty frequent, but we got content. Check it out. Thank you all.
Releasing things with regularity.
Thank you all for checking it out. We'll see you next time.
Get out of here. Go away.